welcome to Mastering Agility. Today we have an extraordinary guest, Arjan Erkel, a humanitarian who survived over 600 days in captivity after being kidnapped while working for Doctors Without Borders in Dagestan. Arjan takes us inside his harrowing experience, the day of his abduction, the mental and physical battles he fought, and the resilient strategies that kept him going. He shares the complexities of negotiation, cultural adaptation, and survival, plus how this life-changing ordeal shaped his perspective on gratitude, reintegration, and what organizations can learn from this. We also dive into his work with Free a Girl, fighting child exploitation, and the broader impact of trauma on individuals and families. This is a story of resilience, hope, and purpose. You do not want to miss this. Let's listen to one of the most incredible stories we've had on this podcast so far. Arjan, good morning. We're super excited to have you here. We really appreciate you joining us. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Yeah, good to be here.
Why I'm really excited about this is, even though your story is one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, and it's one of those stories that I cannot empathize with at all. However, your story has been all over the news at the early 2000s. For those who do not know you, can you introduce yourself a little bit in your story?
Yeah, I'm Arjan Erkel from Rotterdam. The story you're mentioning is my kidnapping in Dagestan. Dagestan is a part of Russia. I was working there as a country manager for Doctors Without Borders, which is a medical health organization. And yeah, during that work, I was kidnapped by radical Muslims and taken into captivity for 607 days in I don't know if the viewers see the table, but in a little cage under the ground by 6 feet by 5 feet, and waiting every day to be either released or to be killed. Of course, that's what happens when you're kidnapped.
There's so many hooks here. There's so much information that I want to get out of this. But let's start off with, how did you end up in that situation? Like, what happened the day that you got kidnapped? Take us through that day.
Oh, okay. As a health organization dealing with refugees, we were talking to refugees, we were talking to medical doctors within the health situation in Russia. And we knew it was a dangerous place because it was the end of the civil war in Chechnya, and lots of Chechen refugees came to Dagestan. And so we were traveling back and forth to the border of Chechnya, because we always thought that's where the real danger happens. And then around 6, I thought, am I going home, or will I go to visit my family-in-law? I had a fiancé living there. And then I decided to go together with the driver to my family-in-law. And we had a nice dinner. And the day after, I wanted to check with the security services within Dagestan, because we got a kidnapping threat. And so I left around 9 because we knew we were targeted. We wanted to be home before dark. And so I said farewell to the family, farewell to my fiancé. I stepped into the car, and then we drove off, and the car was blocked. And then the driver and I were looking at each other. Why is someone stopping in front of us? Why can't we move on? And suddenly 3 guys step out of the car with guns in their hands and walk towards us. And then I was like, something is really going wrong here. And what shall I do? And they're coming nearer and nearer. And I thought, they're going to kidnap me. They're targeting me. Shall I go out of the car, or shall I wait? And then I decided, let's get out. I surrender. I raised my hands and thought, okay, they will take me into the car and drive me off. But then a fourth guy I didn't see, he hit me with something hard on the back of my head. So I almost lost consciousness. But I lay on the floor, on the ground. And then they started to beat me up like I thought they were going to kill me, because 3 guys beating with baseball bats and guns on your head, that was really scary. But at the end they took me into the car, and then we drove off.
What's going through your mind at such a point when they're beating you up? Like, it's something that I cannot empathize with it, because it's something that I never hoped to experience.
No, I hope so too for you. Yeah, there was lots of confusion, because I thought they're just going to kidnap me, which is bad enough, of course. But why do they have to beat me up? And are they going to kill me, or is it a mistake? Did I do something wrong? Because I also didn't understand. The only thought I don't want to lose consciousness because I want to know what's going on. I also thought I don't want to. I want to defend myself, but I don't want to fight too much because that also won't help at that moment. And I was really scared that one of the guns would go off and that I would be killed by accident. And they said something in Russian, and my Russian is more or less okay, but I didn't want to have any confusion or any misunderstanding. So I pretended not to understand any Russian. So I told them I don't speak Russian in Russian, which later they said, yeah, you're a liar because actually you quite know how to speak Russian. So that's all kind of things. And of course in the car when we started to drive, they put a gun on one of my temples and on my heart. So that was really scary. And then I really thought like, yeah, what to do? Shall I cry because I wanted to cry? Shall I beg because I wanted to stay alive? But luckily, I think my brain helped me in a good way. So it's quite a macho surrounding there, the context with lots of fighting, bragging on the streets, how you walk, how you try to be the tough guy. So crying there wouldn't help me. And I was definitely looking for the first sentence. When you meet someone, you want to have your opening sentence. And I think it took me maybe 20, 30 seconds. And I told them, I want to live. So no begging, no crying. And they said, if you behave, we will also behave. So that took away the most of the tension. Mm-hmm. And not all, of course, but yeah.
Did they tell you at any point like why they're abducting you?
Yeah, after some time they just said we want the money. Your organization is a very rich organization, very solid one. They want to keep you. They want to have you back. So most probably they will pay some kind of ransom.
How long did it take for your family and your relatives to get word that you were being taken?
Yeah, so I think it's about 5 hours later they found out. So I think I was taken around 9 o'clock in Russia. In Holland, it's 2 hours later. And I think they were called around 1:30 at night. A friend of mine working in Moscow, he called them.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And then what?
Yeah, then what? Yeah, it's a very long story. In the car, you're I don't know how to say it. You're trying to protect yourself at any stage. Do I say the good things? Do I say the wrong things? What shall I say? What do they know? You don't want to help yourself. No, you don't want to make it worse for yourself, of course. So I was just quiet. I had some training, like behave, don't be a hero, listen to them, don't make it worse. So in the beginning, I thought, let's see what they want, and I just don't want to make it worse. So that's the survival modus, I think. So don't run away. Get used to the bad things. For example, I had to go to the toilet with two of the guys standing behind me, charging their guns, and then you're sitting there trying to do your thing, and then that doesn't feel comfortable. But yeah, you also have to accept that this is the new situation. But that took me around 2 weeks, I think, because in the beginning you're angry, you're afraid, you're thinking about, will I ever survive? Does it hurt if they kill you? Will I ever see my family again? These kind of questions. So I also didn't feel proud. Like, it's not a good thing to be kidnapped, of course. Then you try to find out what kind of guys are the guys that took me. But you don't want to be the wise guy. You don't want to ask too much because they thought I was a spy already, because that's what they said in the beginning. They were, trying to find out if I had any weapons, but I didn't have any weapons. We had a discussion about the ransom because I wanted to go home, of course, alive and kicking. I was wondering, shall I ask what they are going to ask my organization? So I asked them, is it a kidnapping? And they said, of course it's a kidnapping. I said, okay. But because it also gives you a better feeling, because they also might want to kill me because for some kind of reason. So that was a bit of a release. And then I asked them, how much are you going to ask for as a ransom? They said $12 million, so, which was also quite a lot. So I said, yeah, that can be possible. Well, why 12 million? Yeah, we heard that someone else was kidnapped the year before, also working with Doctors Without Borders. I said, yeah, but he came out for free. I was in the crisis team, but they thought I wanted to start negotiating. They said, no one goes out for free. I said, but 12 million is way too much. Oh, what's a good amount? So that really quickly you start thinking, yeah, what's a good amount? 12 million. How rich is the organization? Yeah, 250 million yearly. Then I thought, okay, maybe 1 million. And then they said, yeah, okay, 12 is maybe too much, but let's lower till 5. And then you think, okay, at least the normal people, you can try to have some kind of conversation. But yeah, within those 20 months, I was taken 20 months. They handed me over to a new group, and there I stayed for 90 months. And with that group, I really tried to integrate, not losing your own self. I didn't become a Muslim. I didn't want to lose my own, how do you call it, my own identity. And so slowly, the circle of influence from COVID, I think almost everyone knows it. Yeah, I try to make myself a better place and a better person so that they start maybe liking me and giving me a better time.
You mentioned that they thought you were a spy. Did they have any solid reason to really think, or to have any evidence that you were a spy?
No evidence, but people can always make up some evidence, of course. Lots of people within the old Soviet system, even nowadays in Russia, think that NGOs are full of spies. So that's the first assumption. And then I was visited by 2 guys from the American embassy just a week before my kidnapping, and they pretended to be humanitarian crisis people trying to find out what's going on. But when they came to our office, they handed me 2 medals from the Pentagon, like we are from the military service and things like that. So I think those guys who followed me already for a month saw that meeting and that of course also strengthened the idea that I was a spy.
When you're talking about like you're negotiating basically the worth of your life, like putting a number on your life, how does it affect you mentally? Because we often hear like these discussions, like in a bar, like random discussions, how much is a life worth?
Yeah.
But now you're actually applying that.
Oh, it's an interesting question because it's not the same, of course, with the salary and what are you going to get, but you're there, you're hanging at a rock and maybe you're falling down if you say the wrong amount, of course, and they will kill you right away. So I think at one point I'm thinking, what's my life worth compared to all the good deeds we're doing to the refugees? Maybe I should just tell them, kill me, and then we don't have to pay any money. But that thought, went out of my head straight away. And then, it should also be something valuable for them, right? Because if you're of not any value, then they're also going to kill me. Knowing the situation, knowing the country a little bit, knowing the kidnappings before, I thought 1 million is more or less, for everyone, a good amount. Yeah.
So it's still a really wild concept to think about, especially if I look at you like this. You're sitting here, you walked into the office. You're very relaxed. You're laughing. You're smiling. You talk about this very easily. How do you keep your mental sanity throughout those years after experiencing something as traumatic as this?
Yeah, I didn't need the emotions at that time, because if I would think about all the bad things that could happen to me, like not seeing my family, not seeing my girlfriend, not going to the beach, not drinking a beer in the sunlight, then the dark days, because they were dark already, would be even more dark. So I needed to have some kind of a flatliner, or at least a basic line that I shouldn't go down that one. But of course, every now and then I went really deep and I had to cry, thought I was going crazy, trying to escape, trying to make all kind of plans. I really had that difficult times. But I also had the highlights, like when a picture was made, and I thought, yeah, they're going to negotiate maybe one more week. Then I had all the energy, yeah, one more week, and then I'm going home. I will see my family. And then suddenly nothing happened, and you lose all your good emotions again. So I learned myself there to be stable, and I think that also helped me afterwards, not thinking about the kidnapping in a negative way. Because if I will do that and sit at home and think about the 20 months I missed in my life and the pain that they caused me, they caused my family, then you're kidnapped for the rest of your life. And when I landed back home in the Netherlands, I thought, okay, I have my freedom back. I don't want to be taken hostage by the situation, because otherwise my whole life will be ruined. And now it's only 20 months. That's ruined. And from the other side, I learned lots of things about myself, of course, to be disciplined, to have structure in your life, to fight for yourself. I had to box, for example, with them. So I was really fighting with them. But also the mental fight to stay strong, to give to know where your resilience is coming from. Because your own pride, your honor. So that also gave me all kind of unknown powers, and knowing that you have all these powers within you, and that when it's needed that they will come out, also gives me lots of I don't know the right word, some ease or some
comfort.
Some comfort, and not some comfort. I'm a strong guy, and I can deal with the rest of my life. Yeah.
You mentioned they let you box, or you had to box, but why?
Yeah, because it's a really macho culture, and they asked me, what kind of sports are you doing? And I boxed, and they said, okay, yeah, show us. I said, yeah, but it's better not to box. Yeah, but we can at least pick one of us, and then we'll have some one boxing match. Without gloves, without referees, you don't know the rules. Of course, they might change during the game. So I first, didn't want to, but of course you also have to show that you're a man sometimes. And then I picked their boss. So I told him, if I win, I will have to be the boss. So you better don't box with me, because maybe he didn't want to fight. But at the end he said, yeah, okay, let's fight next week. So for a week I was not looking forward to that day, of course. And then Wednesday, we were supposed to fight on Wednesday. I told him, I bet you're not coming tonight because you're afraid to lose. He said, yeah, but how many people did you knock out? I said, 25 or something like that. He said, how many people did you kill? I said, I didn't kill anyone. He said, I killed so many Russian soldiers, and you're the next. So I was like, I don't want to fight him. But then he didn't show up. So I was really happy. But the next day, I saw him again, and I said, hey, coward, why didn't you show up yesterday? So I made a mistake. And he said, Arjan, I thought you were a bit more intelligent, but now tonight we have to fight. And then, we were just standing there in the dark outside somewhere in the mountains, and he started to hit me quite hard, but I could, how you call it? Defend myself. Yeah. But then, I missed one hit, and he really beat me so hard on my eye, and I felt like seeing stars, and I knew it was going to be a black eye. And then I started to fight back, and I also hit him, and he said, go back to your room. You've been showing that you can fight. And the good thing was, I was sitting there, and when you have a wound or something, sometimes you feel your heart beating there. Mm-hmm. So I was feeling my heart beating on my eye. And he came in, he said, I hit you very nicely. I said, but didn't I hit you as well? He said, yeah. And he took away his mask, because for 20 months they were always wearing masks. And then he also had a black eye. So for me, it was a good sign that he also felt some respect and some appreciation for my side of the story. And so these things, and standing up for yourself and sometimes fighting for yourself, also helps you to win a position in a group, of course.
Yeah, because I know Dagestanis have quite I know you mentioned like the macho culture, but also that they have a very specific love for these combat sports. Like the major combatants, the really good ones in UFC, are predominantly Dagestani.
Yeah, true.
So is that something that really that you figured out how to deal with that, or is that something that fitted you before that?
No,
Right?
I knew that because my wife or my fiance at that time is from Dagestan. And for example, if we went to the beach, we were also always looking at the guys. So they come walking like the tough guys, and then they start a little bit fighting with themselves, throwing stones in the sea to show off who can throw the stone the furthest. So I knew it was a macho culture, and yeah, then when you're in Rome, act like the Romans, and when you're in Dagestan, act a bit like the Dagestani, but not too much, because you also have to show your own culture and your own identity. So I was always trying to be myself and trying to fit in the system. So it's 20 months of finding out who am I within the system and what place will I take in the system.
Mm. Yeah. Jim, you've been listening in. I'm really curious about your thoughts, because I can imagine Arjan, for me, has been in the news back in the day, and I very vividly remember those days. It was around the same time as the attack on the Twin Towers. Roughly, exactly, roughly the same period. If you're listening in here, what are your thoughts?
Wow, my mind's kind of racing, to be honest. A few questions came to mind, and I was trying to kind of just place my reaction to the stories. And my first reaction is, this sounds like a movie. Like, I think I've seen this movie before. I hope someone like Brad Pitt played you in the movie. But there's been a few times in my life where I have felt helpless, like where I've felt held against my will, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But in way better conditions, situations, and all that than you. But even in those not even remotely applicable comparisons, I can remember still right now the helplessness I felt. And when you're talking about trying to think about the value that you're worth and maintaining that you're worth something as a survival technique, I'm curious if they said anything, or if you thought about anything or picked up any indication about what if you weren't valuable? Like, what if Doctors Without Borders said, "Hey, our new policy is we're never going to give a single euro," or whatever? Was that concept of self-value something good or bad in the early days, maybe?
Oh, it's also a good question. In the beginning, you know for sure you're valuable money-wise, because otherwise they don't kidnap you. So for sure you know that as long as I'm having this money-wise value, they will keep me alive. But keeping someone alive also comes with what kind of circumstances they are holding me, and how will this period between being captive and being released, how will that be? And then I think it comes more to your mental value or your dignity, or how do they see you as a person? And for sure in the beginning I was helpless, and I didn't know how to behave, I didn't know what to do, but then you try. I was trying myself after, or telling myself after a couple of days, like, you have to make the best out of this as well. So that's dignity. It's to make because I was placed in a sort of basement, and the door was closed, and there was only one candlelight, and I was sitting there for 24 hours a day. And of course, in the beginning, you're completely lost. All the injustice, all the feelings like, why me? What did I do wrong in my life? Do I deserve this? But also the pain, like maybe my last breath I have to breathe out somewhere here in captivity. I will never see my family again. How is my family? All these painful things I had for sure, and I couldn't help myself, because this helplessness I also felt. But then I realized, this helplessness is not going to make it any better for me. All the bad thoughts is not going to make it any better for me. So you have to have this sort of change. I don't know if it's a paradigm change or anything, but you have to look for the freedom to grow into the situation, accept that this is your new life, make it your room, make the guys feel like they have to care for me instead of taking me as a captive. And so I tried to work on how we dealt with each other and how they could make my life better, because I can control my own situation in my room, but I needed the guys to make my life better. And I think that's also dignity. If they didn't respect me, they wouldn't make an extra step for me. So I had to find ways that they respect me or appreciate me at least, so that they would make a better life for me as well.
One of the things that I've learned, I've had a few friends, past and present, that have kind of worked in the American prison system. And one of the things I remember talking about a few years ago is, why does everyone exercise in prison, right? Like if you believe Hollywood, and she told me, that it is true, right? Like my assumption has always been, and I'm curious what you think, because your comment kind of leads me to think that controlling what you can in your current sphere and doing the best you can in your new normal,
Mm-hmm.
when your world shrinks drastically and you can only kind of live in your own head a lot of the day, and maybe your surroundings are extremely constrained. Did you feel any of that? Like, I'm going to do some mental exercises, I'm going to do some physical exercises both as maybe a coping technique and as a way to, like you said, get the best out of your situation?
Yeah, I think it's a combination, because first of all, you're completely bored, so there is nothing to do. I didn't have a book or a TV or any games, so, and then if you only start thinking about the bad things, you need some time off to do something else, and then of course you start to think, I have to be healthy, because if I get the chance to escape, I should be strong. But I was also thinking about my girlfriend a lot, and she became more and more beautiful, from the outside and from the inside. And I thought, she's like an angel. Maybe I should also, work out a little bit, so that she, thinks of me like, wow, that tough guy. He survived 2 months, because in the beginning I thought it was going to take 2 months, and then I come back with a 6-pack and like a Hercules, for example. And so it's both. And you have to be strong. And I think for me at least, I told myself, you're not going to lay in the bed during daytimes. You're not going to make yourself weaker, because it doesn't fit within your idea. I have to survive this, and I have to come out and either by paying or by escape, or maybe I have to attack them. So it's a combination, I think, of fighting the loneliness and the boredom, but also looking after yourself. Starts with looking after your brushing teeth, for example. I asked them, because for a week I didn't brush my teeth, and then I was handed over to this new group, and they took away all my clothes. They put me in the shower because I was smelly, and then I asked them, can I have at least a toothpaste and a toothbrush, because that's also important for me, and which they gave, actually, which was quite cool. So I think your dignity or yourself, how you call it, preservation, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Starts also with looking after yourself. And maybe that's one of the reasons.
Yeah. I one last question, Sander. I'm curious, in maybe there's a time frame that you want to scope this to. I'll leave that up to you. But have you had any reminders? I guess maybe. Actually, I'm talking myself out of that. So,
ask anything.
how did this situation affect your day-to-day life in the after path? So, like, maybe once you get back, I can assume some things that you did over the first month or so. But has there ever been something where you're like, that way I reacted, whether it was positively or negatively, or that thing I did, or how I felt in this situation was because of that? Or has that kind of gone away with time?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand the question, but I'll try to answer. No, so every day I'm still reminded by this kidnapping. It can be, like I said, in the shower or in the toilet, that I think, there I had to go to the toilet with two guys standing behind me. And then but I always turn it around like, now I'm sitting on my own and I can sit as long as I want and I can take a shower afterwards and these kind of things. But it can also, I saw Sander walking with Coca-Cola and somehow I thought, I drank one can of Coca-Cola during my captivity. So that's the small things, but I can always turn them into sort of gratefulness, like now I can drink Coke whenever I want, or I can go to the beach if I miss the beach. But also in business life or in personal life, it's easier to accept failing, for example, or it's easy to start something because I know, okay, I have the power to start something, and if it's going to be a failure, I don't mind because I will stand up again and I will try again. So these are the things also related to the kidnapping, that it gives you more power to think about freedom, to think about possibilities, to think about chances, to see opportunities everywhere. So, which is a good thing, I think. Is that sort of an answer to your question, or?
That's almost exactly what I was thinking, is that gratefulness that you feel, and it may come at you when you see someone like Sander carrying a Coca-Cola, like an unexpected moment, right? A very trigger.
Yeah.
And I guess the flip side of that is what I was also curious in, like, and I'll just give you an example for me. Like, there's some challenges I've had in life, nothing that relates in any way to yours, but then maybe 2 years later, I respond poorly. Maybe I'm walking down a certain street in a city, and I either feel an emotion, or I get nervous, or I become argumentative or something. And I'm like, in hindsight, I step back and be like, I'm reacting like this because of this thing that happened in a totally different year in a totally different place. So I think it can be positive or negative, but it's wonderful to hear that you see that as a reminder of what you have to be grateful for, and the freedom and all the small pleasures in life. So that's wonderful. I need to be more like that and use those triggers to trigger gratefulness, rather than maybe a memory of a trauma or something bad or a poor reaction, I think.
But it's also a matter of perspective, right? Like, you have this experience, so that puts your life experience now in a whole different perspective, while you have not been in this situation, so you view things differently. Now,
but it's interesting how people deal with it. Of course, I think it's part of how your DNA works, but also the surrounding, they also help you to stay a victim for a long time. Because of course you need help. And when I came out, I got lots of help from friends, from family, but also from a mental health specialist, which I chose myself. But the basic was, I don't want to be a hostage the rest of my life. I don't want to be a victim, because I survived my difficult times over there. And in normal life is much easier. So why can't I handle normal life? And of course you can feel self-pity every now and then. And you are a victim sometimes of your situation, but the situation is gone. And then it would be nice if your victimhood, or how you call it, victimship, I don't know, is also moving out of your life, because the rest of your life is in front of you. But for lots of people, it's very difficult. But I always try to tell people, because you can change them. Look for the gratefulness, look for the good parts of your life, even within the trauma. Maybe you did some good things, and you can be proud of it. And even if you're not proud of it, sometimes you cannot handle anything within a traumatic situation, and don't blame yourself for not taking action. Look at the future and be happy that you get a second chance. But again, for everyone it's different. But trying to push them in a less victim life, that's always a bit of a part of my life.
Even when you're a victim, you still have options to see things in a different perspective. Now, was there any time where because when I hear you talk about the guys that took you hostage, it almost sounds like there is some ways to reason with them. Like, they're not constantly begrudging them. They're not necessarily what's the right word? Very closed.
No,
if that's
no,
the word. What kind of relationship did you have with them?
Yeah, so I think the good thing within my story is that after a week, I went to the guys who didn't kidnap me, but who became my sort of prison guards.
Sure.
Yeah, so I looked at them as prison guards, and which is maybe also trying to fool myself, but at least they weren't the one who took me, who beat me up. I discussed even with them, why did the guys beat me up? They said, yeah, we would never beat you up like this. So sort of talking culturally wise, they should behave towards me. And luckily I'm a cultural anthropologist, so I knew their culture. So slowly, you try to figure out what's the best for me, but also what's best for them. Safety, it's not only my safety, but they're also afraid that maybe I will attack them or they will lose $5 million. So I have to make sure they also trust me and they feel safe around me, because I was much stronger, not stronger, but taller, bigger. Maybe I was a special agent that was in the back of their mind. So I had to tell them all the time, no, I'm not going to escape. I'm not trying to fool you. What you see is what you get. Thinking about that, then luckily I found a gun one day in the shower, which I gave back to them, which was also helping to feel more trusted, but also being sometimes funny, being straightforward. For example, we had a discussion about religion. I told them I'm not going to be a Muslim. I have my own Christianity. You can do whatever you want, but it's not going to work like that. Which they, respected also, because they said, we're also fighting against the Russians. We don't want the Russians to take away our belief. So it's cool that you stand up for your own belief. So I think this gaining respect, of earning respect, is, it takes a long time, but it was also in the back of my mind. I have to, it has to be safe for me, psychologically safe, and for them. And I have to be a person who's, nice to be around. Because if I'm a big asshole, they're not going to do any extra step. But if I'm the sissy, they're also not going to make an extra step. If I'm the aggressive one, they're also not. So you have to, within the boundaries of still being yourself, you have to move a bit.
Yeah. Now, empathy is something that we discussed a couple of times, and also making the link to business and to the corporate life. It's very easy to look at some behavior that you see going on and judge people based on whatever your perception is of that behavior, without truly empathizing with these people.
That's what you say, but there's a difference in Dutch, at least, between understanding and to feel empathy or I don't know, like begrip and begrijpen. I don't know.
It's a little bit like sympathy and empathy.
Yeah, sympathy and empathy. So I try to understand them, because they were fighting against the Russians. They want to have their own Islamic state. They feel proud of what they're doing, which I can all understand. But you don't have to sympathize with their goals, with their what they're fighting for. Which I also told them. I think I appreciate what you're doing, but I don't have the same feeling, and I don't sympathize for what you're doing. But so we could have a good conversation about those two different things. Because I also, if they weren't so much into the Islam, they would have treated me maybe different. And so the good thing was that they were Islamic guys, but their fight for an Islamic country, I didn't support at all.
No, the ways that they do that. I can imagine. Sort of.
No.
Now, people like Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Angelina Jolie, Putin, they've all been requesting your release.
Yeah.
Was there any way that you could follow along with these kind of things? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, when your picture were taken, you had to hold up a newspaper as well, right? Yeah. Were you allowed to read those newspapers as well?
No, only that day. So they tried to keep me away from the news. But sometimes they said, you're well known all over the world, like Putin knows who you are. Like Bush, it was Bush at that time. Even Joe Biden wrote a letter to Bush. So lots of people were involved. So that also gave me a good feeling, because sometimes, like I also, like your colleague said, sometimes I felt hopeless and helpless. And sometimes I also felt forgotten because loneliness was something to fight with. But sometimes I thought, why isn't there any negotiation going on? How come I'm still here? Why isn't my director doing something? Are they forgetting about me on purpose? And do they hope that, I will fade away and the memories about me will fade away? Only my father and mother still know who I am. And that also hurt. So basically, when I was released, that really gave me a good feeling that so many people cared about me, cared about Doctors Without Borders, trying to do something to get me out of there. That was really a good feeling. I was really well known in the Netherlands. So on the street, people came out to me like, "Hey, we're glad you're back. You're our lost son. Do you want to have a free beer or a free bitterballs?" And these kind of things. Even the police agents, when they saw me parking, they said, "Hey, we don't give you a ticket, but please take your car away." So there was so much love and care for me, which was really interesting. But during the kidnapping, no, I didn't really know what was going on. I only hoped and prayed that journalists also will keep me alive and report about me for sure.
It must be such a weird perspective in that sense, like feeling this difference. Because again, I vividly remembered seeing this on the news, even though I was pretty young at the time, because it was early 2000s, so I was 14, 15, maybe 16. I follow, like, I get to see that on news almost daily, at least weekly. And if you're not aligned with that, like, you have a completely different perspective of that. That must be such a weird thing to catch up on, how much you're being shared on in your story,
true.
And to learn like what else has changed and how this has been discussed and covered. How does that affect you, like when you go back and
Oh, like I said, to me, it was amazingly welcoming support because I think the worst in such a situation, and even the work for Free a Girl, that you might be forgotten on purpose, that no one cares about you, that no one wants to pay for you, that you're, like we discussed before, that you don't have any value. That really hurts, and that's also really frustrating, and also. It sometimes made me mad about my own organization. Like, how come my colleagues are not fighting for me? I'm here because of the good deeds we want to do to the world. But then you also realize I'm filling in all kind of feelings that might not be true or might be not correct towards the way they are behaving. So, no, definitely when I came back, I was surprised by the whole country knowing about my situation and being so friendly, and so I think it also helped my whole reintegration to sometimes I still think you have this movie with Jim what's his name,
Jim Carrey,
with the island where he lives, old movie that the whole world is based around him. But
right, a Truman Show.
Yeah, the Truman Show. And sometimes I still think I'm in some kind of Truman Show, that after my release, the whole world is trying to comfort me and give me a nice life. And of course, it's not like that. But it feels like this warm bed of you're welcome. And not even you, not even you, but even today. Yeah, you're also like, I know the story. It's good to have you. You feel some kind of sympathy already. So, that's...
Yeah, you got two more questions before. Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Go.
I'm curious. To what degree do you think your education and prior work experience kind of helped you? Because, I'll just leave it at that. Like, do you think that was a major help for you?
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm a cultural anthropologist, so you have to be curious. For 2 weeks in the beginning, I wasn't very curious because I hated the guys. But then I realized, no, see this as a new anthropological research. Try to at least observe. I have time enough, but maybe you can also have some moments that you can participate with cooking or whenever there will be a TV. Maybe you can watch TV or you can sport with them. But also knowing the area, like how to behave with their culture, see their culture as an example to how they should live in this situation. But also, I've seen lots of violence. I've seen lots of dead people with work already. So that also made it easier to deal with people pointing guns at you and shooting in the air. And so I was not really impressed when they try to intimidate me. Of course, it's never nice if they intimidate you. But for example, in the beginning, in the new group, I asked him who's going to kill me. And one guy, he took a gun and he shot a bullet just on top of my head. And I didn't say anything. He said, "Oh, I expected you to pee in your trousers." I said, "Yeah, but I've seen some violence already." So that helped for sure. Yeah, and I don't about my intelligence. Yeah, what can I say? Yeah, maybe I've some of my friends knew already, or they thought, or they hoped that they would see me playing cards and drinking vodka with the guys, because they knew I'm a person who can make contact easily. So yeah, and there I tried to do my utmost best, of course, to make contact, which is also interesting, because sometimes in normal life, when you don't like a person, you move on. But there, yeah, I didn't like them in the beginning. So 13 people I didn't like, and they didn't like me. But they did. They didn't need to like me, but I needed to like them, because otherwise, nothing is going to happen. So I that was also interesting to see how much effort you can put in a situation, and then you can turn someone you don't like into someone you start at least appreciating. Yeah.
Got two more questions, and I want to move to like the business aspect and also for your girl, because that's a very important part too. One would be, did you ever see them again afterwards? / talk to them? /
no,
go
never.
back? No. What happened to them? Do you know what happened to them?
Yeah, I met one of the intermediators who got me out after 13 years, and he said that most probably they're all dead. Either they killed themselves, how you call it, inward fighting.
In combat,
or maybe they went to Syria to fight against Assad, or maybe some of the guys are killed by the secret services. So yeah.
Maybe a weird question in that sense, but does it give you any consolation, or does it, how does it affect you in that sense, that assuming they're dead?
Yeah, so this is also a bit paradoxical, because it would be interesting to see one or two of the guys, and also to their leader, I'm quite thankful that he managed to have his group in such a way that he made it bearable for me as well, because he could have made it so bad for me, and he could make it hell if he wanted. But he always said, "Yeah, I'm a good person, because I could have made your life so miserable, but I managed to make it live your life more or less okay." So yeah, I definitely it took away the moment that I can meet them. So that's a bit of a pity, but also not so much that that it affects my life. And no, I don't feel any pain or feeling of revenge towards them, but I also don't mind that they're dead.
No.
Yeah. So
sort of indifferent.
Yeah. In Russian, you say "с тобой хорошо, и без тебя еще лучше." But it means with you it's good, but without you it's even better. Maybe that also fits. We made that joke sometimes there with them, like, "Hey, you've been here now for such a long time. It's nice to be with you, but without you it will be better." And I think for the world, it's also better that these kind of guys disappear. Or are taking out.
The room brightens when they leave.
Yeah.
The other question before moving on is, what was the first thing you did when you came back to Dutch soil?
Yeah, the first thing is to embrace my mother. She was waiting at the tarmac of the airport, so that was really cool. And then my other family members, and then I kissed the Dutch ground, which I like. We had the Pope, I don't know which, Johan, whatever.
One of them.
Yeah, one of them. And he always kissed the ground wherever he landed. And yeah, I felt like, I belong here. I want to be back in Dutch soil. I always thought, if I will be killed, I want to be buried in Rotterdam. So yeah, to feel home, to see your family, and to kiss the Dutch soil, that was the first thing. Yeah.
Because your wife is Dagestani, do you still go back to Dagestan?
No, not to Dagestan, but to Russia. I went many times, but now with Corona and with this conflict, of course, or the war in Ukraine, it's better not to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
And my parents asked me, don't go back to Dagestan, because we had such a horrible time, and please don't be kidnapped again. Yeah, but she goes back and the kids goes.
It must have been such a traumatic event for them as well. Like something I want to move away, because that's going to be a topic in and by itself. But you also do a lot of seminars and public speaking about this, and there's a lot of lessons that businesses and organizations can learn from you and your mindset, because all of a sudden you have to be very responsive in your mindset, in the way that you adapt into very unknown territory in circumstances you don't know.
Yep.
What do you think is the biggest lesson that organizations can learn from your experience, from the way that you were thinking and your whole mindset?
Yeah, that's really a difficult question, because for 20 years I've been thinking about this elevator pitch, of course. But there's so many stories to be learned. But I think curiosity, resilience, to unite with people, but also seeing possibilities, adaptation. These kind of things are really important, of course. But also freedom of thinking. I think lots of people know how to think within freedom, but then they don't act, because then they start seeing all the bears on the road and all the problems. What shall we do? So I always say shorten the period between your idea and the action. And lots of other people say that as well, but I can at least prove that I did it over there, and I still do it in my own life. So there's too many. Maybe I should ask you the question. What would you take out of the story?
Pretty much what you're saying exactly here. It's something that, for me, sometimes as a consultant, is already frustrating that it takes so long before we put like concepts, ideas, plans into action. But I can imagine for you, it's a whole different thing. Indeed, I see too many organizations just try to figure out the entire plan and go through all these details while we don't know what's going to happen until we actually do and execute that plan. And so what is stopping us? Because we're uncomfortable. We want to have the full picture. You won't ever have the full picture. Never.
Sometimes I call it, if you translate it, it's called dehostage. Mm-hmm. Because we take ourselves hostage by our thoughts, but our inactivity, sometimes because of our own, not knowing or not willing to know. And if you break all the systems around you, which stop you from going further, and then you free yourself from your hostage situation. It can be in your marriage, where you want to break out. It can be from your work. It can be from your wishes. These kind of things. Yeah.
What's the biggest frustration that you see in organizations, or the best scenario that you have been in that organizations actually learn from your story that you have been able to
it's not listening to each other, basically. Talking in separate ways. You pretend you're understanding it, or you think other people understand it. So it's misunderstanding, definitely, always. And people that try to fight for their own position and don't give space and freedom to other people.
Isn't that weird? Jim, you've been in many of these situations as well. What do you take away from what Arjan is saying?
Well, my mind's just been racing, because I'm stuck on a couple comments that were made earlier, and I'm just kind of trying to think about the idea of actually starting to make not friends, but to become empathetic towards the people that are affecting you, right? That's one concept that I'm thinking about. And the other one is, you mentioned a few minutes ago about trying to break the victim, like those feelings of despair, like there's no way out and all that. And like I don't know that I have an observation yet. I'm still kind of thinking about that. And when I look at your website, a few words jump out to me that I would like to get into in the future here is transparency and results oriented. And to connect the dots, like to that victim, the helplessness that people might feel in any given situation, whether it's a life-threatening helplessness, whether it's captivity, or maybe it's something much more mundane for some of us. How important is it to have steps, like something practical that you can do in any way to begin to kind of lay the groundwork for feeling in control of something so that you can change your situation. Like, that's where I would like to go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Sundar, I don't know if I have I'm just taking it all in. I don't know if I have any observations
No,
that
but
are worthwhile to share.
it's always the first step, which people always make too big. Not always. I mean, but if you generalize, people have always big goals, and they don't want to see the small goals as real goals as well. For example, if you're afraid to meet other people, and then you don't want to go to the street, you're afraid of other people looking at you, how to behave. But at a certain moment, you have to put your first step outside of the door. And that's already a major goal, right? Because that will change the rest of your life. It's not about how am I going to the stadium being surrounded by 65,000 people, because that will definitely withhold you from making the first step outside. The first step can be going to the neighbor, ask for a bit of sugar, pretending you don't have sugar at home. So I think we should put much more effort into making people those small steps instead of dreaming big. I work quite a lot with young kids now in Rotterdam also, and they also always have the big dreams, but they don't have the idea to break it down to very small steps. Exactly what you're saying. So if you want to encourage people or make them stronger or think about resilience, it's about the honor and the pride you get from making the first little step and then making the next step. But of course, it doesn't sound cool when you're standing on stage and being a consultant and whoever professor at school, and you talk about small minor steps. Because it's cool to be the millionaire and to see Richard Branson, but even Richard Branson started somewhere small at school, trying to get a good grade. And maybe he didn't even finish school, I don't know, but somewhere in his life he made small steps. He didn't become a billionaire right away. So in my story, it also starts very small, to killing all the insects in my room, because I wanted to have a clean room. So I asked for a toothbrush. I killed all the insects. I asked for a new ceiling. Then I started making push-ups, and in the beginning, I could only make 20, but at the end, I said, I want to make 100 a day or 100 in a time. I never managed, but at a certain time, even the kidnapper said, you should be happy that you're kidnapped. I said, why? Yeah, because you look so much more athletic now than from the moment you walked in. So it's. I think that's one of the things the society has to change also. Like, small steps are also worthwhile. That's one.
Sorry, I have a friend that suffered from agoraphobia. I don't know. I'm sure you know that word, but maybe it doesn't translate well. But it's at its worst cases, people won't be able to leave their home or maybe even their room, right? And they start to compartmentalize. And what I learned from talking to them was exactly what you're saying, which is the first goal was getting them to be able to walk to their mailbox, to leave the front porch and walk 30 feet to their mailbox and do that, and celebrating the amount of effort and victory that took to do that. And then maybe it took another week to be able to walk to the end of the street, right, to the corner, and all that. And then before you knew it, that what they shared with me is there's this feeling of momentum. You don't really feel it in the moment, but you see how Monday I went to the mailbox, Friday I went to the corner, and then seemingly overnight, you're walking 8 blocks to the grocery store, and maybe even considering next week maybe I'll take public transportation, right?
Yep.
And I think that's what so many people say is it's getting them to the mailbox first. Because if you can't get to the mailbox, that first short step, and celebrating that and then building it upon that, what I see in my work, in my life, is it's easy to say, I can't walk to the mailbox. But once you walk to the mailbox, it is very reasonable to say, I think I can walk to the mailbox 2 days in a row, or I think I can walk to the corner.
Yep.
So I think that's a great takeaway is, if someone like you can see that went through what you went through, can see the power of those small steps, I think there's something we can all take away from that.
True, and also take the time uh, to give yourself the time to make those little first steps, because sometimes you don't want to do it, and you have thousands of excuses not to do it, but your own pride and your own dignity also is related to the steps you make, and celebrate the steps, like you said. Make a nice party that you walk to the mailbox, and why waiting for the big party until you go to the stadium? You can throw another party, because we should also, it's a cliche, but we should celebrate life. But the step to the mailbox is maybe even more important than going to the stadium at the end. So choose your parties also.
Yeah,
Right.
that's where people start, like what you're just saying, Richard Branson. All these people can do it. Why can I not? Why can I not do this? And comparison is the thief of joy, and it's very easy to get paralyzed by someone else's success.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right. So this is something that many organizations can take away. Every marathon starts with a first step, and we got to have the courage to have that first step and to take it. And maybe it's not going to work out the way that the first time that you anticipated for.
No,
but let's inspect and adapt.
Yeah, but give it the attention and the value. And I think we overlook that many times. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. It's very easy again to look at the very big picture, but we won't get to that big picture if we don't celebrate and then see where we came from. And it's very easy to get lost in the day-to-day business and just take these successes for granted.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
I think that's the same as, like, from my perspective, it's so easy to take my freedom over here for granted, because I have not been in your shoes and have walked the same journey as you. So it's very easy to assume this is almost a given, while in a very large part of the world this is not the same case.
Yeah, or see how we reacted during COVID times. Lots of people didn't know how to react or what to do. Suddenly you have 8 extra hours if your work was closed, for example, and then I don't know what to do. Because lots of people are waiting for other people's what they should do. But be curious. I think it's also a very important lesson. Be curious, really. Because if you're not curious, you don't see things what you can learn, and you don't learn. And if you're curious, you want to learn.
Yeah.
Want to find out.
But it also ties to the idea that many people and organizations lack, like, the motivation, the drive behind it to really change, because it's very comfortable not to change. And I usually make this as an exaggerated example during the courses that I teach. And again, for everyone who's listening, please do not do this. But you're pretty much the living example of this. Is where I say, if you put a gun to people's heads, force them to figure out a solution, all of a sudden they'll have a solution to the problem. And it's the same in organizations, where if you would put them in a room, like, and put a gun to their heads, and you can only escape when you have a solution, within 5 minutes they'll have a solution.
Yeah, true.
So it's a matter of this perspective, right? It's, as long as there is the right motivation and drive behind it, people will find a reason to change and a cause to change for.
Yep.
Speaking of a cause to change, go. Sorry.
Oh, well, you're kind of in my head a little bit, because I was thinking about COVID, and the other day I saw a quote from the great Tom Hardy, and it said, "Being alone for a while is dangerous. It's addicting. Once you see how peaceful it is, you don't want to deal with people anymore." So I'm curious, as someone who's now had this experience in life and went through the pandemic, and that, do you find, and knowing what your training and education is in, do you find any shift in just us as humans on average, if we're more comfortable being alone, if we're more, restrained, or do you think we've swung back as a people to maybe pre-pandemic socialization levels? Because personally, for me, I am much more of an introvert now than I was 5 years ago. And I don't blame the pandemic for that. I think there's a lot of positivity that comes from being forced to interact less and deal with the public more. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a cool observation, I think, about yourself, but also about society in general. I admire, or not admire,
appreciate.
No, to encourage people to be on their own, because your whole life, the only thing you know for sure is always with you is yourself. And if you can deal with yourself under all kind of circumstances, then you will be the winner, or the winner for life, not for yourself. So if you can be with yourself, enjoy yourself, see opportunities, care for yourself, I think that's really the basic start. And then you don't need other people in a way that you really can do without them. Of course, we are social people. We need people to be around us, but the real need is to come, how to say it in English? To love yourself, definitely, and also without other people around you and surrounding you, and also you need to motivate yourself. So I definitely like the sentence. So lately I was standing still, and that was basically a big step forward. And I think we need more time to think about ourselves, about our own motivations, about our own goals, these kind of things. But a good example is my wife. Sometimes, when I gave a lecture, I spent all my 9,000 or 10,000 words as a man that you have per day. They say always women have more words, and then I don't talk too much at home. And then she starts complaining like, "You've been kidnapped, and you can be on your own very well, but I'm also living with you in the same house." So, and we're also social animals, so we need to also be able to be around other people, of course.
Mm. But it's super hard to be alone these days, especially because everything is trying to distract you.
Yeah, but lots of people also need those impulses from outside. And during COVID, I think it was sort of a reset that people should also look at themselves. How can I entertain myself? How can I develop myself? How can I live on my own? Which, I also see it as a good thing. But of course, lots of people, and because of the COVID was bad in itself, they don't appreciate that it was also a nice time to learn more about yourself.
Absolutely true. Hey, speaking of which, because I want to be mindful of the time as well.
Yep.
Free Your Girl, you founded Free Your Girl together with Evelien Hulsken, who we had on the show last year. One of the most impactful conversations I've ever had. I got to be honest about that. And Jolanta.
Yep.
What compelled you to found this specific organization?
Free Your Girl fights against the sexual exploitation of children. And when I first heard about this problem, and it was a Dutch guy from Leiden, a very simple guy, he walked in and shared me his story about freeing kids in India and having big caretaking houses. And then I thought, wow, this is something I want to fight against, because there's so many charities for saving apes and saving horses and fight against cancer. But this one really, touched me. And I think also because of my kidnap history, I was, lots of those girls, they're waiting in little cages in the most dirtiest brothels in India, and they can't escape. They're waiting for someone to get them out. They're longing to see their parents again and their family again. And these kind of emotions I also felt, of course. And then I thought, I was a grown-up guy, also fighting against my tears and hoping to be saved. And they are small children. And then I thought, we need money, because without money they can't come out. We need justice, because you have to tackle the whole system. But the most important is give them a second chance. I always got a second chance, and I wanted to give them a second chance as well.
What has the organization or the foundation achieved so far?
Yeah, so far we saved more than or rescued more than 8,000 children. So that's quite a huge amount. We've been working now in more than 10 countries. We have 3 offices in India, the Netherlands, the United States. We're getting more and more sponsors, so we're growing. But there's still lots of things to do. There's still hundreds of thousands of children waiting to be rescued.
So my friend and the co-author of my book, Ryan Brook, he coined the idea of starting the Paperclip Challenge to raise money. He asked for a good foundation or a good cause to donate this money to. And of course, Free Your Girl came to mind. So for those who are listening, we're aiming to raise $100,000 for this awesome organization. At least awesome. It's awesome that you're doing this.
Mhm.
It's super sad that it's needed.
Yes, for sure.
But so far, thanks to Chris, we collected a USB stick and dongle, Star Wars Ray. So huge shout out to him, and we've been able to trade that for an electric guitar and an amplifier by Steven Sykes. Also, huge shout out to him. Let's say we ultimately, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to 100 grand. What would that mean? What would you be able to do with 100 grand?
Yeah, with 100 grand, you can do so many things. You can rescue more than 50 girls. We always say it takes 5,000 to rescue someone. So I mean 20 girls. But we can also start giving school fees. For example, we have a program. The School for Justice. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's a program for kids who are a bit more adult, who can follow law school, for example. They can be the lawyers or the prosecutors or the judges for the future, so they can change the system from within. We can give lots of rehabilitation programs because you can imagine you come out after all these traumatic experiences, you need some caretaking. So there's lots of things we can do for sure.
You've been going to these countries yourself as well, right? What are the typical situations that you end up in?
Yeah, the most difficult is finding girls within either the hotels or within the brothels because sometimes the police is corrupt. Sometimes the organizations that you work with is being seen, of course, as someone that ruins the business of the traffickers. So that's difficult. But also it's difficult to keep the girls within the houses, the safe houses, because sometimes they want to go back into the life that they're coming from, because that's the most saddest what I've seen, that a girl who was rescued said, I want to go back because I have a better life there. Because when you're in a safe house, of course you're safe, but it doesn't mean that you have a job, that people trust you. And the worst for me was in India, that I saw 2 generations of women still working in the brothel. And of course that the younger was not working, but she was living there. So the mother came there as a young person. She became pregnant because of her work, and then said, now I have a small kid. I want to stay here because it's safe. If I go out, I don't know what's going to happen. So that the brothel is more safe than life outside. That was already really something that I couldn't think of. But the power in her eyes was like, I want my girl to have a better life. So I work the rest of my life. I do this work, or as long as needed, so that I have good clothing, that I can pay the school, and that maybe because of my girl we can go out of this situation. But that, now look at the time, it might take 10, 15 years before they're out of the situation, and that they still choose that situation as better than to go out. That also says something about the culture, about poverty, about being strangled in an idea that this is the best for me. So that you said my story was so far out of my normal life, and that was the same for me. That people chose to be in such a situation because they think it's the best. I didn't understand.
No. It's super sad that like this perspective that you're choosing deliberately to stay in this situation, knowing it's a very fucked up situation. Says a lot about those circumstances.
Yeah, true.
And the fear that they live in.
Luckily, we've also seen other things. Last year, I went to Nepal, and we had an idea to, instead of us making all kind of programs, we really asked the girls, what do you need? What do you want? What are your dreams to make the next step in your life? And the girls who were just freed or just rescued. And then you came up with such cool dreams, like I just want to have a scooter because I want to go to school. And if I go by public transportation, it takes me 1.5 hours. And if I go by a scooter, it takes me 15 minutes. Do you have a driver's license? No, not yet. Okay, well, first get you a driver's license, then we get you your scooter, and then you can go to school. And then we don't have to be there. You don't have other people to run the project. You just give a small amount of people. Other girls wanted to be bakery or like a coffee shop. These kind of small things that really make their the change in their life. That was so cool to see. Also the resilience. Of course, you saw tears, what they experienced, and then they said, "Yeah, we want to fight for this. We don't want other girls to be kidnapped and end up in misery." So the sort of female bonding and strength and also dignity again, that was really cool to see. So yeah, I always see the good things, or I put my empathize on the good things, and I hope the power from within will change the system, that some of those girls will be the change makers, and they have the power, they had the experiences, and that they can also turn those bad experiences in something better for the future, for all the female solidarity.
Yeah. I mean, you're the living proof of that already. Like, you've been going through such an experience that you have, and now you use that to change other people's lives, and hopefully that can become like a snowball effect, and move down the line. Do you ever stay in touch, or do you hear back from the girls that you rescued or their families?
Yeah, not many, but some of them, like, because of Facebook, Instagram, you can. Yeah, I have some of followers or friends on Facebook that you can see that they go home, that they're starting to be farming again. It's not that they all become professors and judges, but it's cool to see that. Yeah, they found love within their family again, and not all of them, of course. But
they have a better life at least. I can imagine that makes you so proud that you've been able to have such a profound impact. Yeah. All right, let's start slowly wrapping this up. If people want to know more about Free Your Girl and the work that you do, also about your own pages and your own information, where can they find that? Yeah,
Free Girl is freegirl.com. That's the easiest. Then they can either find the Dutch or the American website. And mine is arjanerkel.nl and also arjanerkel.com. It's ARJANERKEL. I have a nice book. It's called Held Hostage on Amazon.
We'll make sure to include all those links, and I'll make sure to get some as well, that we can give those away to the listeners. If people want to contribute, what are you looking for?
Yeah, the easiest is money, because that helps a lot, because then either the project programs within the country can decide what to do with the money, or we will funnel it to the right organization. It's not that we always work with partner organizations from the country, so it's culturally adapted. It's people from the countries where we're working that know what's best. And of course, sometimes people want to donate computers or a car. A car is always welcome, of course, but and new computers also, for example, new laptops. But the easier is, then you don't have to import it. You don't have all the customs, these kind of things.
Exactly.
It sounds sometimes a bit unfriendly, but money is just easier.
Yeah, there's a lot of administration and
import regulations, these kind of things.
Exactly. Yeah. If you do, however, have stuff remaining left in your house that you want to get rid of, again, we're running the paperclip challenge. We have some stuff that we want to trade. So bring it to us, and we'll see if we can actually build more of value. And again, we want to build to $100,000.
Would be cool.
This. That would be awesome.
And the guitar is already how much?
Roughly 400. The guitar is 400 together with the amplifier.
Yep.
So we're always looking to amplify that number as well, and hopefully end up at the $100,000. But it's one of those challenges as well that feels like a very big, daunting goal, but we're not necessarily in a rush. We don't have a deadline. We just have the goal of getting there. Yeah. And the first step has been made. It's
definitely from the page.
At a certain point, of course, we'll have to stop relying on like the individual consumers and the people, the individuals, because it's going to get over their heads unless it's a very high amount or very rich people that we can get in contact with. So we're looking for organizations as well that can help us out and help us to get to this 100K. And
cool that you want to do it, for sure. Thanks.
Mastering Agility only works with organizations aligned with our values, and that's exactly why we are excited to work with our sponsor. Scrum Match is the free platform for professionals run by professionals. On Scrum Match, true Scrum Masters get hired by companies serious about the popular framework. The awesome people behind this platform have decades of experience, among them a professional Scrum trainer for Scrum.org. They have interviewed, trained, and coached hundreds of like-minded people, and they use this exact experience to make you stand out from the crowd and help you get in touch with companies looking for true Scrum Masters. So go to scrummatch.com and sprint to your dream job. Let's see where we can end up with, because, I've got 3 kids.
And otherwise,
go ahead.
In Nepal, there was also one girl who wanted to be a singer, which is also cool. So we asked her, can you sing a song for us? And then she started singing a Nepalese song, which we didn't know. But to us, sometimes foreign music doesn't sound like the right music.
Mm-hmm.
But for the Nepalese girls, she was fantastic. Maybe she might need a guitar at the end.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, also awesome. Yeah.
It would be great to see this impact, because I've got 3 kids myself. I've got a son of 10 and 2 girls of 6, and it's I cannot imagine how this must be to have a kid in this situation. Again, it's one of those things where I take the freedom and the life that we have over here for granted, knowing that it's so different in different places.
No, it's completely true. But also, and we didn't tackle this topic, but it's not only the girls; it's also the family who miss a family member. And like you said, I also have 3 kids. Once my oldest one went missing for 1 hour, but then you feel already, wow, your heart is pumping in your throat. And for example, my parents were missing me for 20 months, which is horrible. But we forget the families in those other countries. They also miss their child.
Yeah.
And they don't have the power to go to the government and to say, hey, come on, government, you have to fight for my child. But of course, they also want their children to come back safely and live a normal life.
No, exactly. No kid should go through that, and neither do parents, because it's crazy. You lose your mind going over that stuff, I imagine. So hopefully also your parents have recovered from this.
Yeah, luckily it took some time. No, not my mother. She was the only one who was completely fine the moment I landed. And
she let go of everything.
Yeah. So,
Jim, any closing remarks, questions from your side?
Yeah, I just want to underscore that if anyone out there is wondering how they can help, whether it's giving Sander and I and Ryan some things for the Paperclip Challenge, check that out on our sites and social media, and then go to the Free a Girl site, and there's lots of ways to give back. And it's been an inspiring conversation, and thank you so much for spending some time with us and the work that you and your teams do.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Sander.
Yeah, Arjan, appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all for today. Thank you for listening. If you liked this episode, let us know by hitting that like button. Share it with friends and colleagues, sharing a message on LinkedIn, joining our warm and welcoming Discord community, or attend recordings as a virtual audience. You can find all the relevant links in the show notes. We hope you'll tune back in for the next episode of the Mastering Agility podcast.